Hey friends, Jerry Hardesty here. I am the producer and host of the podcast The Artist's Voice. In fact, I am the creator, producer, and host of the podcast The Artist's Voice. Let me tell you, I just want to paint. I just want to paint. That being said, with this short video, I am announcing that I am closing the podcast. So let me talk about it just a little bit. I created the podcast in 2018 with the mission of empowering artists to share their stories and talk about their work. I've hosted at least 100 artists from all genres and from many international companies countries, as well as from the United States, of course. I've met many wonderful artists and who I now consider as my friends. I've learned so much from all my guests, and with a major focus of being their process, how they get to where they want to be. So let me just share a few of the highlights. For instance, Daniel from Chicago, from the Chicago area, taught me about using kerosene with oil paint. And in fact, he even uh, demonstrated how he does it on a Zoom call, it was fantastic. I learned a lot and I've since used it. Not as much as Daniel, but I've certainly used it and intend to use it in the future. Alexander taught me about asemic writing. Tucker introduced me to a product to reduce the drying time of oils, and I use it faithfully. And let me tell you, it's wonderful. So my oil paints are oil on canvas. They're dry to the touch within 3, 4, 5 days at the most. Now Carlos and Valentino, they're two Argentines, is that right? Or Argentines? I'm not sure which it is. And in fact, they even interviewed me for one of my podcast episodes. Now, I have to tell you though, I'm not really good on the other side of the microphone. I mean, that is when somebody's asking me questions. Natalie in California has me using crushed pecan shells to create texture in my paintings. It's quite fun. Now, if you haven't tried it, I encourage you to try it because let me tell you, crushed pecan shells, you can buy a 5-pound bag for, I don't know, 10 or 20 bucks through Amazon. Wonderful, wonderful. Susan and Tom introduced me to Silver Point. Never heard of it before, but now I have. And even though I haven't tried it, I'm fascinated with the process. Stephen in Florida has encouraged me to step outside my comfort zone. And in fact, he created a art book for me and has encouraged me to create my own as well as to venture outside of my comfort zone. Now, one of the highlights involves a number of my artist guests that have been on the show. And that is when I curated a virtual show that I called Diverse Voices. And I had a number of my guest artists submit their work to be in the show. I don't recall how many I had, but I probably had 30 some paintings in that show. There's a videotape of it somewhere. It might be on YouTube. I don't recall, but anyway, please look it up and watch that show or view that show again if you haven't already done so. Now, I have to tell you, unfortunately, the podcast has become a distraction. It's like I said in the beginning, I just want to paint. And it, the podcast is time consuming because the way I've done it in the past is um, I do research for each potential guest, and I create a personal interview based on the information that I acquire, for instance, their artist statement or their bio and that kind of information. So it takes some time to put all that together and then do the interview. And then after the interview, then there's a process of getting it posted to go out to the world, so to speak. Furthermore, I cannot I can't compete with these big guys, these big artists who have a staff that they use to create all what I just talked about, creating their interviews and getting the guest artists and so forth. So I just can't compete with that. So I'm giving in. So, uh, and not to mention, in order to maintain it, it is quite expensive, and I want to eliminate those expenses. So anyway, like I've done 100, at least 100 different interviews, so I have reams of paper of these interviews that I will probably have. Knowing me, I'm a junkie. I don't throw anything away. I'll probably have them forever. So I just want to paint. Therefore, I'm going from Mike to Easel and signing off this one last time. And if you're a follower or listener, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Have a great day. And let's stay in contact. You see my email address, my phone number. You can email me or text me or go to my website, jerryhardistystudio.com. And I hope to stay in touch.